Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for the first day of December. For those who are unaware, this is a regular tradition I do every year on the channel. In December, I put a load of various Dark Depths strategies onto the channel, and we do some increasingly weird ones, so keep an eye out for some bizarre stuff on the way. But to begin with, we're playing my beloved Green-Black Turbo Depths, and this is the current build, which I have a guide for on my Patreon. So let's have a look at what this deck's trying to do. We are using Dark Depths to make a 2020. We either remove all the counters with Hexmage, or we copy it with Thespian Stage, and Thespian Stage won't have any counters on because it didn't enter as a Dark Depths, and then we get a 2020. We power this out using fast mana like Spirit Guide and Lotus Petal. We protect it with a bunch of hand disruption and things like Pithing Needle and Not of This World, and then we find our pieces using Sylvan Scrying and Crop Rotation. So there's a few little things to note on this particular build. We're now down to one main deck Not of This World and put 3 in the sideboard. I just wanted more hand disruption. It just seems to be the most important access to fight things on. And the price of information is really high. Just knowing what you're playing against can suddenly change the game. So I'm quite happy with this current build. And like I said, there's a big sideboarding matrix for this on my Patreon. In the sideboard, we also have Leyline in the Void now. You may say, why do you only have 3? Well, we want Graveyard Hate, and we mainly want Graveyard Hate for Turbo, Reanimator, and Ouphe all spells. And the best Graveyard Hate against those decks is Leyline in the Void. So even though we only managed to fit 3 into the deck, that's still 3 cards that if they're in your opener, they're still going to be great, right? We've got a couple of Collector Ouphes. We've gone down on Collector Ouphes in the sideboard because of our hand disruption, which is often going to be good against those matchups anyway. So we've kind of squeezed a little bit more room to get this extra Not of This World into the sideboard. So our plan for control decks with removal from Marit Lages, a bunch of Not of This Worlds, and our Sylvan Safekeepers. And of course we have Abrupt Decay, which just answers all the problem things from Mages of the Moon to Ensnaring Bridge. It all gets clipped by this. If you'd like to know more about this list, by all means check my Patreon out, but just sit back and enjoy the beginning of December. With Christmas almost here, there's no better place to buy Magic the Gathering products than 3-for-1 Trading. They boast an enormous array of singles and sealed products to help you complete your pre-modern and legacy collections. Whether you are looking for a gift for that special someone or just want to treat yourself, be sure to use the code COW3 on your first order over $500 for free worldwide shipping. Well, our opener does have a route to the combo and some disruption and the fast mana to kind of alleviate some of the problems of having tutors. So I'm going to keep this one. Opponent's a 61 card deck, which could mean Ouphe all spells, or it could just mean that they're playing a bunch of tutor targets. Alright, looks like it's Ouphe. Are we dead on turn 1? We're getting Thoughtseize. Are they going to take my Thoughtseize or my Crop Rotation? Both of them can stop them. They took the Thoughtseize. Okay. Don't really like having the Sejiri Steppe in hand, but we'll make do. Play out some pieces. Do I want to Sylvan Scrying? Is there any need to Sylvan Scrying? We can start blowing up our opponent's lands. I think the plan is just to crop rotate for Bojuka Bog. We can get the Bojuka Bog. Then Memory's Journey in response maybe, but then we can just go and blow up their land, and they might not be able to get the need to go. Would like a Surveil land in this situation, but we don't have one in the deck because most of the time an untapped land is too detrimental for us. We got a Dark Ritual. 3 cards in hand. It's a Balustrade Spy. 2 cards in our opponent's hand. Let's see what their list looks like. Charbelcher in the main. I'm not seeing any... Oh no, there's a Pact of Negation. There's 1, 2, 3 Pacts of Negation. 1, 2... All 4 Pacts of Negation. Okay. Let's crack this. Might as well get Forest. We'll Crop Rotation this away. They have the Cabal Therapy. They know about the Crop Rotation, so we don't have any other choice than to get this Bojuka Bog. So they're going to Memory's Journey, and they can put Lotus Petal, Thassa's Oracle into their deck. And then we need to find a way to kill them before they draw all 3 of those cards. Right, Memory's Journey, we don't really care about the Poxwalkers that much. They can beat us down, but we'll be dead in other ways before then. So targeting Lotus Petal, and the Thassa's Oracle. So now we wipe their graveyard. They've got a reasonable amount of power. We've got a few turns to try and finish them off here. Do we have a random land that might be useful? Let's just have a quick check. Boseiju doesn't work unless they play out a Lotus Petal, but I don't think they're going to do that. So this turn we play Thespian Stage and the Sylvan Scrying. We're going to get Dark Depths. If our opponent plays a Lotus Petal to avoid it being discarded, then we can just go and get the Boseiju and blow up our opponent's... Oh, we don't have the green source for it though, do we? Interesting. So next time we make a guy and then we kill them, I think we're okay here. It's what, 3, 6, 7, 8. This is not going to kill us quicker than we kill them. Here's our Dark Depths. So we have a 20/20. Our opponent draws 1 card. I think if they had a Lotus Petal earlier, they would have played it out. They can keep this guy back on blocks, but they know about the Sejiri Steppe in our hands. They know that won't work. There's a Lotus Petal. Do we get to triumph over the mean, nasty Ouphe spells player? Give our creature protection from black. We could have tutored for this anyway with the Sylvan Scrying in our hand. Okay, we managed to get one up on Ouphe's all spells. So stuff that isn't particularly important is these cards. And obviously the Leyline of the Void and the Collector Ouphe look pretty good here. So we end up with 1 Pithing Needle, which can name Goblin Charbelcher or the Undercity Informer, and this is what we're running with. I don't really care about their fair aggro plan. We're really good at beating fair aggro decks because we just fly over them with a giant body. We could keep in the Sejiri Steppe to push through some blockers. What does this hand do? It gets killed on turn 1 by our opponent. I don't really want that to happen to us. I'm going to mulligan. They've kept 7, so I think we're going to mulligan to Leyline if we can. Okay, we'll keep this one. We're going to keep a Leyline. Do we keep 2 Leylines if they're running bounce spells? I think we need to keep a green source. Start with 2 Leylines. This may or may not stop our opponent. We've already seen Charbelchers. I don't think they had enough green cards to support Force of Vigor, which is why we're keeping both. It wasn't the Collector Ouphe. That's a shame. I'm going to play out this Lotus Petal because we don't want our opponent to take it out of our hand. We're looking for Collector Ouphe. I think just probably wins us the game if we find it. Or we can start beating down with a Hexmage or assemble our combo. Alright, we've stymied what our opponent was doing. But we are just drawing a lot of lands here. So they might have bounce spells. So it's another reason why having 2 is important. Felmire tapped. You got it, opponent. I'll play this Thespian stage. And I'll pass. It's probably going to become a Bayou in our opponent's end step. It doesn't hurt to have more green mana. Not that we're going to need it on this setup. It also means that by having the Thespian stage as a different name, if they were to have some kind of random Pithing Needle style effect, which I think is not going to be in their deck, it would mean that they'd have to name Bayou rather than Thespian stage. A Pithing Needle. Okay, I'm going to play this 1-off Pithing Needle, and we're going to name Goblin Charbelcher. I'll play out the Swamp. At some point, we can find a win condition. I consider Collector Ouphe to be a win condition until our opponent starts making guys, which they might do now that we've shut off so many things. We might just be seeing random guys doing their thing. Yep, that seems to be the case. We have a bunch of tutors though. This is a little bit late. I don't think I need to crack the Lotus Petal. That's fine, I just play Collector Ouphe. It does shut off our Lotus Petal, but it's important to try and get the Collector Ouphe down as early as possible. This might stop our opponent from having more mana that can play more guys. If we'd have had this a turn before, they wouldn't have been able to play the Undercity Informer. Force of Vigor on 2 Leylines here. That might be pretty good. So they do have enough green cards to support this. Okay, interesting. Quite often the Pact of Negation builds don't have enough green cards. So they should be able to just win the game here. So we're going to mill over. We get to see how they sideboarded. What have we got here? Memory's Journey. We've got 2 Force of Vigors, 3 Force of Vigors. Okay, so we're going to get their guys back. And then they can Dread Return the Thassa's Oracle. Where is this Dread Return? It might be in their hands. They might have to Cabal Therapy themselves to get it out of their hand. Which is fine. Why are they targeting us? Are they just on like a weird beatdown plan? They're going to have to use the Memory's Journey to shuffle some stuff back in. There was a Dread Return, I just couldn't see it. Cool. Okay. I think we're in a fine situation with how we sideboarded here. We did mulligan to Oblivion because our opponent was on the play, but we get to be on the play for the last game, which means all of our hand disruption is going to be golden. We have one piece of hand disruption that we can't even use, so we're going to mulligan this. No hand disruption. Our opponent has also begun with 7 cards. We can't just keep this. Even though it's a turn 2 send, it's not good enough in this matchup. Okay, I'll take Thoughtseize into Dark Depths. So we don't have exactly what we need. We can put back a swamp. We can put back one of these fetches. Is it worth thinning the deck marginally here? I think it is. As much as that's not really a thing. It is greater than 0 as a percentage. Let's have a look. They have 1 payoff and a lot of mana. So we take the payoff. Can they Agadeem? So they go 3 mana, 4, 5. 6. They can just Agadeems this guy back in. Ugh. I hope our opponent doesn't see that line. I think we have to take this guy, otherwise we are just stone cold dead though. They might not want to put it into play straight away. The fact we know they have the Memory's Journey in hand is really interesting. Alright, so they are going for the Dark Ritual line. So it should be Dark Ritual into Spirit Guide, into Animate their guy again. Disruptor Flute or Pithing Needle can save us here. We could also blow up their land with a Ghost Quarter, because they're not going to have any basics to fetch. An Elvish Spirit Guide. That's probably not the one, is it? What we can do is we can play this Hexmage. And if our opponent makes a mistake with their like Cabal Therapy bridge from below stuff, we might be able to take out all their bridges so they don't get any guys, which means they might not have enough to flashback. So our opponent has to make a mistake here. I don't think we go to 4 just fishing there. I think we have to just assume a piece of hand disruption is going to do enough. So we've got a couple of Narcomoebas in there. How many Poxwalkers do they have? 1, 2. So they sack this to Cabal Therapy, they still end up okay. And there's a bridge from below trigger. There's not a way our opponent can mess this one up now. Alright. Oozle spells. Unfortunate for us. We just mulliganed deep and couldn't quite find the thing. And then the game 2 one was kind of more annoying if I'm being honest. Because we had to mulligan super deep to find a Leyline and we just couldn't really string together stuff. If we'd have had our Collector Ouphe 1 turn earlier, then we'd win that game. Alright, on to round 2. Okay, our hand for round 2 gives us Thoughtseize, and then we can tutor for our pieces. It's a little bit on the slow side, but I think this is alright because we have 2 really key pieces of interaction. We can mess up their hand, or we can mess up their ability to mess up our lands. A Lotus Petal. Are we just going to die on turn 1? Ancient Tomb. We can get Blood Moon. Ancient Tomb, Lotus Petal, go. That's a very strange opener. Ancient Tomb decks tend not to be wasteland decks. So the Pithing Needle is less important to me right now. They're getting this Urborg going. So let's Thoughtseize. Okay, so we're doing the Eldrazi thing. We can just take away their pressure. But how are we going to beat this Kozilek's command later on is the question. But I really don't want to have to play against this Reality Smasher. Because they can play this next turn. And that's going to take out quite a lot of our life total quite quickly. So next turn, we have Sylvan Scrying. We go get a land. The turn after we combo. So we take 5. Then we take 10. And then we can block. Okay, so we're going to take the Kozilek's command. I'm going to play this Lotus Petal out just in case our opponent has any sort of chalice and they decide to put it on 0. We should race the Reality Smasher with what we have here. We could also just draw like Vampire Hexmage and be able to go next turn. Here comes the big Reality Smasher. It's going to come in, it's going to smash our reality. Not of this world. Well, okay. They do have wastelands in their deck. Do we need to respect them? Crack this and go and get a Bayou. So we can get a Thespian stage here. Or Dark Depths, either works fine. And then we have the 3 lands for next turn, which is enough. So we can afford to go Sylvan Scrying. We go and get Dark Depths is fine. And then we can use this Pithing Needle on Wasteland. And next turn we have 3 mana, we crop rotate and we're good. Cavern of Souls. So this is a new card that we didn't know. If we get stung by a Thoughtseize right now, that would be really tragic. Linebreaker is not great for our well-being, though. So this is 10. That's going to put us to 2. And I think that is enough to kill us, unfortunately. Our hand was just a tiny bit slow. It was quite defensive. We would have been okay if we'd have taken the Reality Smasher in the end. It's going to put us to 2. We can get a 20/20 next turn, but then they just attack round with the other creature. Does this change anything? I don't believe it does. We get to Hexmage, Depths. We get a 20/20. How are we dealing with this creature? We can't deal with them both. We don't have anything in our lands that's going to help us here. Let's have a quick check to make sure I'm not forgetting anything. No, I think we are just done here. Unfortunate. Our turn 3 20/20 was a little bit too slow, as it turns out. So what do we want? Thoughtseize is a little bit awkward. Once Upon a Time, and then we have a couple of our lands that don't do anything, like Bojuka Bog and Sejiri Steppe are kind of blank here. And that gives us access to some protection spells if we want them. And we could squeeze in an Abrupt Decay as well. If we want an Abrupt Decay, we probably have to shave on the Safekeeper here. Do we want 2 Abrupt Decays, just in case Chalice messes us up? We can obviously deal with Chalice using Hexmage if it comes to it. This other decay, and that should be 60. Okay, we need a second black source or any mana source. The hand is a little bit slow in a matchup that is quite speed oriented. But we do have protection from Kozilek's Command and protection from Wasteland. So if our opponent's kept like a slower hand, we're okay. We're on the play, so I think we're going to keep this one. It has all of our pieces. We just need a little bit of mana. We could draw fast mana, which obviously helps us in a big way. We can play out the Verdant Catacombs and be Wasteland protected because they can't Wasteland our Catacombs for any value. It does mean that we're not lining ourselves up to draw a bunch of fast mana. Even if we draw fast mana, we would need to draw 2 pieces to get it to go off on turn 2 anyway. So it's not worth playing out the Thespian stage, risking it being Wastelanded. When next turn we can just go stage, Disruptor Flute, nail the Wasteland and be okay. The Eldrazi matchup in my experience has been pretty good. Once the builds went to like the red aggressive builds that are tapping out a lot instead of the green builds with Sown Mycospawn, Spawn, it's been a lot better for us. Another Dark Depths. If you want to play this Disruptor Flute, we have to play the Thespian stage here. Let's get Disruptor Flute in. We're going to name Wasteland. If this was a Pithing Needle, we could have played out the Dark Depths, which gives us more draws to combo next turn. Because now we're looking for fast mana is how we combo next turn. We do have 8 pieces. So we've got 8 in 51 chance of being able to effectively win the game next turn. This little guy. Not in love with this guy, because this can just 100-0 us sometimes. If our opponent puts like a Kozilek's Command on the stack, we might have to kill this. 19 is a big ask from this position, but we'll see. Whilst they have the ability to cast multiple Kozilek's Commands, we need to be a little bit judicious with when we put our Marit Lage into play, because it can just get gobbled up by a K command. Disruptor Flute. This is interesting. If we make the guy now, they can Kozilek's Command it. They could be real smart here and name the Not of This World with the Disruptor Flute here. But given the clock's presented, we have to play it this way. They could name something like Crop Rotation, but I think the correct name is definitely Not of This World. Let's see if our opponent knows that. They're a fan on the channel, so they probably watched me play this deck enough times. If they have 2 Kozilek's Command, we're dead anyway, because the first one will give them another spawn to cast the second one. They've named Not of This World. That is the correct name. They tanked on it for ages, but here we are. So now we're probably going to get our creature removed. We're a Lotus Petal away from making a Marit Lage next turn as well. Feels like a K command. And goodbye, Marit Lage. Okay, they scried 1 and they put it away. We're going to take 2 damage here. Draw a Lotus Petal and then we get to go again. If we draw just a regular black source, we did not draw a regular black source. Do I want to get a Pithing Needle down also on Wasteland? In case our opponent manages to blow this up somehow? I think so, because they have the the blue-green guy that blows up artifacts. So we'll just get a little bit of extra security here and hope that our opponent doesn't just string together a bunch of stuff and kill us with the Flesh Raker triggers. Any black source and we get our 2020. Is this going to be a Thought-Knot Seer? It is a Thought-Knot Seer. Okay, so now we need 2 pieces to get where we need to go. Goodbye Vampire Hexmage. Goodbye our chance of winning, perhaps. It's not looking spectacular. Oh, is this a line breaker as well? Yikes. Now, I have been saying, even before the Reanimator deck got Entomb banned, that Eldrazi was secretly one of the very best decks in the format. And it didn't get touched. And I think it's still one of the very best things you could be doing in the format. Okay, I'm going to pump their Thorn on Sears. This is what? 9, 10, 11. That is lethal. GG's. We got absolutely smushed there. Yeah, the Disruptor Flute was interesting. If we'd have had like another mana source in hand, we could have just let this go and then gone for the Hexmage on the following turn. But because we didn't have the mana source, we kind of had to go for it and hope our opponent made a little mistake. And that's sometimes the place you get put in. They did actually kill us on turn 4 with a piece of hand disruption and a Disruptor Flute. So 2 pieces of disruption and a turn 4 kill. This Eldrazi deck is no joke. Let's go to round 3. Once upon a time, a couple of tutors, protection. This seems like a good hand for round 3. Our opponent is a well-known Ouphe speller. So we might just be looking for a green source so we can get our crop rotation for turn 1. They play other decks as well. They're a very good player and nice human being. Alright, let's get Once Upon a Timing. I think it's the Bayou here. And we lead off on the Bayou. Holding up the crop rotation for Bojuka Bog. Purely because our opponent's name is Faulted Form and we know what they're up to quite often. They're probably the best Ouphe spells player. A Dark Ritual. A Cabal Ritual. A Balustrade Spy. 4 cards in hand. Let's see what's in their list. There is 1 Pact of Negation. 1 Pact of Negation. 2 Pact of Negation. 3 Pact of Negation. So they have a Pact. This is pretty disaster town for us. Let's bin off this. They're going to cast this Pact of Negation in their hand and we're going to lose the game. There it is. Sometimes decks will have a turn 1 send with protection, and there's not a lot we can do about that. If we'd have opened up with a Thoughtseize, maybe we could have taken something. Okay, so Pithing Needles, Not of This World, Sejiri Steppe. These sorts of things aren't really required. I very much like some Collector Ouphes and some Leyline of the Voids. We get to keep 1 of our Pithing Needles still. The Disruptor Flute is better than a Pithing Needle because we can name spells that they could cast. So like Dread Return or something, which can mess them up a little bit. But just a bunch of hand disruption. Some stuff to mess them up here. That's about all we've got. This matchup has historically been alright for us because we have main deck graveyard hate in the form of crop rotation. But nobody beats a 7-card Ouphe hand that has it all. Okay. Am I duressing or am I getting this Collector Ouphe down? Thoughtseize here. Or we could Collector Ouphe. Collector Ouphe shuts down Lotus Petals and things. I think we just need to Thoughtseize, to be honest. Our opponent kept 7, so I'm a little bit spooked out by this one. So they have Dark Ritual, Cabal Therapy, Fel the Profane, Thoughtseize, Undercity, Informer. We have an interesting choice. We could take the only mana they have and hope they don't spike mana. Even if they do spike mana, they just put the Undercity Informer into play, which is obviously terrible news for us. I think it's the Fel the Profane. Just try and cut them off of anything that can develop, and then we can shut them off of other mana using Spirit Guide to power out this Collector Ouphe next turn. Alright, no land drop from our opponent. That is good news for us. A Thespian's Stage. I think it is more important for us to shut down our opponent here. So we're going to go Thespian Stage, Collector Ouphe, and then Duress. We've got Thoughtseize, Dark Ritual, Cabal Therapy. So now we can just take the Dark Ritual and really strand them mana-wise. I think this is the correct selection of what they have left. I think we've done enough here because we do have any mana source gets us to the combo. Start being down. We don't have to worry about Charbelcher here. Good old Collector Ouphe. If you're really worried about Ouphe spells, you obviously can add in another Leyline and another Collector Ouphe to the sideboard if that's really what you're worried. Okay, they've been off the Memory's Journey. Oh, we still don't have the mana source though. This swamp not being a Bayou is slowing us down. They could also go for a line where they discard one of the monsters and they can reanimate them. That's pretty good. But they've had enough. They didn't see the Leyline, which is huge news. So I think I'm going to submit. I don't care about their creature plan because 2020's beat whatever creature beatdown plan they have. Sure, if they go like turn 1 Barragoyf, turn 2 Barragoyf, things can get a little bit dicey. There's no way we can keep this one. This is very much I would like to have a Leyline in my opener. This is good if we get a turn. They've begun the game with 7 cards in hand. No, thank you. Alright, let's just go for the Leyline, I think. Okay, I would like an Urborg. A Leyline, obviously. Get rid of one of the Sylvan Scryings. Do I prefer this or this? Can we put back the Swamp, and then it's one of these 3. Hard to know which one is the best to keep here. I kind of like having a green source, but this can hopefully find us a green source. I think I'm going to bin off the Petal. Felmire. Untapped. We're getting Thoughtseized. We're getting Cabal Therapede. I'm going to let this hit. What would they name here? Collector Ouphe? And try and work towards a Charboucher kill? They named Thoughtseize. Okay. I'm going to wait to see what we draw, and then we can Once Upon a Time. That's a pretty good one. A green source. I'll take the green source, and I will deploy this Urborg. This means if we draw the Dark Depths, we get to go next turn. Tapped or untapped? Untapped. That's a little spooky. If they're just playing guys out there, that's okay. Undercity Informer. Okay. That is a guy. Crop Rotation. Let's crack this. Go and get a Bayou. Crop Rotate away the Bayou. Go and get the Dark Depths. Cast our little friend, Vampire Hexmage. And we managed to get the match. Whew. Okay, so we split games with Ouphe spells. I think you can see why we're pretty good into Ouphe spells. Our deck's good at doing its thing, so we can mulligan deeply for our hate pieces and still string together our deck because our entire deck only does one thing. So we're going to be able to find it. All right, on to round number 4. This opener doesn't have any real mana, so I think we have to send this one back. I like having a lot of these cards. What do we get rid of here? It could just be one of the Thoughtseizes. We're going to look at our opponent's hand and immediately regret that, no doubt. Our opponent is on 5, so this is very much going to be a let's Thoughtseize our opponent sort of turn 1. Let's have my free spell, please. Dark Depths, Swamp. Okay, I guess I just take a Swamp. That's probably one of the least exciting things that could have been. We'll play out the Urborg in case we draw a Hexmage next turn. We get to make a 2020. Brainstorm, Daze, Personal Tutor, Thoughtseize. So our opponent is on Doomsday. What do I not want them to do here? Brainstorm mixes up the hand and does a lot of work. Personal Tutor obviously finds the Doomsday, which is very much the card they're looking for. If they Thoughtseize our Sylvan Scrying, we don't have much. We can't resolve this Sylvan Scrying very quickly either because of the Daze. If we leave them with Personal Tutor Daze, they can Personal Tutor... I guess they don't have the Dark Ritual though. I think I'm going to take the Brainstorm. They can't take our Dark Depths, and we have a bunch of cards that combo with Dark Depths. So even if they Thoughtseize this, we can still draw Thespian Stage, or we can still draw Vampire Hexmage, or any of our tutors. Alright, they drew a Ponder for turn. That's very good for them. That also means that we're not getting Thoughtseize this turn. Resolving this Sylvan Scrying, not necessarily the easiest thing in the face of this Daze. A Crop Rotation. I'm happy to set my opponent back here. I'll crack this and go and get a Bayou. Doomsday is a traditionally difficult matchup for us. Let's play this right into their... So there's 2 options we have here. We can Crop Rotation now, knowing that it's quite likely to resolve and we can pay for the Daze. Or we can Sylvan Scrying, make them use the Daze, set themselves back a turn, and just get that tempo play, which is what I'm going for here. It does mean that they have the option of possibly Thoughtseizing our Crop Rotation. Right, so there is the Daze. So we're setting them back another turn because I'm way more scared of what they're doing than they are of what we're doing. Because their thing just says, I win the game, and they can kind of do it out of nowhere and win the game. But we're slowing them down. If they want to take a turn to Thoughtseize us and they don't get to personal tutors, that slows them down again. We have loads of things, like I said, that let us combo. If this was a Thespian stage rather than a Dark Depths, then I would have done the other play, because we have less of that half of the combo of the Dark Depths side, because we only have the tutors and the Dark Depths, whereas for the other side we have tutors, Thespian stage, and the Hexmage. I wouldn't fault somebody for going for the crop rotation there, though. I think that's also a fine play, but I wanted to try and slow my opponent's development down. Personal tutor. There is a Doomsday on top of their library and a Thoughtseize in their hand. I'm going to crop rotate away this Bayou. We'll go and get the Thespian stage. And the writing is very much on the wall for our opponent. Doomsday doesn't play Wasteland, so I'm not going to play around a Wasteland here. A Brainstorm. They're looking for Dark Ritual, I think. If they can power out the Doomsday and have some sort of counter. Alright, they didn't get there. That is big news for us. This is a really tough matchup. But just setting them off balance did work there. So you can see what I was trying to accomplish, and it actually worked, which is always lovely. We don't need Pithing Needles, and we don't need Bojuka Bog here. There are varying schools of thought for what you do with boarding in here. So you can board in Collector Ouphes to mess with their Lotus Petals and Lion's Eye Diamonds. I like to board in the Safekeepers here, because this is repeated defense, but also can just chip in for a little bit, and every point of life that our opponent has matters. And then we either add in some Not of This World or some Collector Ouphes. What protection do I think they're going to have? Maybe Borrowers. I'm going to try the Collector Ouphes this time around. I kind of and I think my guide that I have on my Patreon has the Not of This Worlds coming in. I'm going to try the Collector Ouphes today. You could try 1-1 as well. Or sometimes I board in the Abrupt Decays. What does this hand do? Doesn't have access to our combo. Doesn't have any hand disruption. This is not good enough. This has hand disruption and our combo. I would describe that as being good enough. I think we put back the Spirit Guide or the Verdant Catacombs. We could just put back the Sylvan Scrying because we don't really need it. And this gives us mana to play around days. Alright. Put back the Sylvan Scrying because we already have our combo in hand. This is a pretty good hand. But our opponent can kill us on turn 1 or 2. If they Doomsday now, then our Duress is unlikely to matter and they just kill us. It's a Dark Ritual. It's a Doomsday. Our opponent does have to build a pile that navigates quite a lot of potential things. Let's see what is missing. Lion's Eye Diamonds is not in the pile here. They have a Lotus Petal. Are they going this turn? If they turn 1 us, then there's literally nothing we can do. Just a Lotus Petal out. Okay. This is about as good as it gets for us. Let's see if we can slow their roll. None of this matters. So the Cabal Ritual has already done its job. They're a mono blue deck that is splashing for a black spell in Doomsday. And once Doomsday's gone, they don't care about black mana. Maybe they want to Thoughtseize us at some point. What is this? Spectral Restitch. This is the Blink one, isn't it? Street Wraith. They're going to float mana and they're going to Edge of Autumn. There's no Edge of Autumns over here, so it kind of suggests that they have them in the pile. And there it goes. There's a Thassa's Oracle with 2 cards in their library. Bit of a tough one for us. I think I will go in as is. We didn't really see much in the way of stuff to interact with our Marit Lage, but that might just be because they're on the play. But their plan is so good against us. I think we probably do want the Collector Ouphes over the Not of This World. Thoughtseize is big game here. I think I'll keep this. This is one of those awkward matchups where we need to not lose the game rather than win the game. But we've got the easy half of our combo. Sorry, the harder half of our combo to find. Alright, let's have a look at your 7-card hand opponent. We have Dark Ritual Doomsday again. And a Force of Will. Well, this is a very easy Doomsday take, isn't it? Let's get rid of that. How am I going to play this out? It's our only green mana source. I am going to play it out. Because if they Thoughtseize us off the top of their deck, they can cut us off of green, which could be important. Basic Island and a pass. An Urborg. I don't really want to help my opponent out with this Urborg. This is likely their only basic island, so the Ghost Quarter is a strip mine, if that becomes a thing we want to be doing. I think the plan here is Collector Ouphe and Dark Depths. So they've drawn a Daze and they want to Daze this Collector Ouphe. I can live with that. I don't want to play out the Urborg. Right, let's play out the Dark Depths. So if we draw a Vampire Hexmage, we can go around a daze, although we know they don't have daze, but we know they have a force. So decks like Doomsday making a bit of a comeback now that Blue-Black Reanimator is gone is one of the reasons why... Oh, Personal Tutor, that's really good. This is one of the reasons why I've gone for a build with more hand disruption. They will have to do a pass a turn line. How useful is it to Ghost Quarter my opponent? If we Ghost Quarter them, they don't fetch. They already have a black source. They can just go. I don't think that matters. Is casting this Urborg useful? Is playing this Urborg out useful? It gives us more mana to work with things next turn, potentially. I think it is the Urborg, because this means it's Sylvan Scrying. So if we play the Urborg out, we have 3 mana here, 4 mana here, 5 mana off the land we get. So we spend 2 mana, and then we have the combo. So playing out the Urborg does enable us to draw Sylvan Scrying. I think our opponent is going to win this one, though. There is a chance that we can Ghost Quarter and mess up their pile, but I think they just won't do anything, because this is an optional search. So if we hit them with it, they won't search. And I'm not going to try and rely on my opponent searching away their Doomsday off of our Ghost Quarter when they already have the lands to cast it. Our opponent's deck does have a lot of dedication to finding Doomsday. So even though we took it, I was expecting them to take them another turn or two to find the Doomsday, but they were inevitably going to find it unless we killed them. It was just a bit unfortunate for us that they found it quite so quick. Cabal Ritual into Doomsday. No lines like Diamond, not a surprise, and we have the Collector Ouphe. Let's do an ambitious removing a counter by tapping some mana. I don't think this is relevant. Once Upon a Time. So this is kind of the play that we mentioned before, where if we hit the right card here, we do get to make our 20/20. Is that going to be good enough is a very different question. We did not hit the requisite thing we required there. Let's play this Ghost Quarter. We can't take our opponent off of the mana they have, but we need green mana if we're going to get another turn. I think we've just lost, is what's happened here. We needed to draw the other half of our combo, but I liked having 2 disruptive elements against a deck that is faster than us. And I would keep the same hand again in the matchup. It's just not going to work out for us. Also looks like they don't have any bounce spells in at all. They have the flicker thing, which can kill it, I suppose. They should just have us here. They've got loads of mana. They should have been able to set up a pile that kills us. So they have 1 card. They might go fully empty, or they might just have stacked it with 2 oracles. Yeah, they're going fully empty. Makes sense. And that is, unfortunately, the game and the match. An awkward one. This is a horrible matchup. We did well to get 1 game, but we couldn't quite convert in the last one there. All right, this has been a bit of a stinky league for us. We've had a lot of 1-2. We got a couple of 1-2s there and stuff. We've got 1 more round left to go. Let's see if we can get some pity points back. Okay, we have our combo pieces if we find green mana. We have a lot of green sources. And we do have a Thoughtseize to be getting on with, and we can just draw a bunch of things. Let's just do the maths. From this position, there are 24 good draws for us. That is about a 50-50. It's kind of already a mulligan with this Bojuka Bog, though. I think I am going to mulligan this one. Okay, this one is weird. I think it is worth keeping. It does have access to our spells, which is nice. Let's get this Pithing Needle in. I'll play out this Lotus Petal. There's an argument to Sylvan Scrying here. But if they Thoughtseize us, they can take either of these tutors. And it's kind of a wash then. The Sylvan Scrying does technically end up better in terms of the amount of cards we're spending. Okay, so we're going to go for this Sylvan Scrying with a surprise Spirit Guide to help pay for it. Okay, it just worked, did it? Intriguing. Here's our Thespian stage. We've still got crop rotation if our opponent is doing Reanimator shenanigans. We can interact with that. I imagine we're going to see a Surveil land here, but which one will be interesting to note? Oh, not Surveil land. Are we going to see some sort of cantrip at the end step? No. That's very strange to me that they wouldn't get Thundering Falls there. Maybe the Thundering Falls is in their hand. But why would you fetch then at end step anyway? I guess maybe if you've got a lot of lands in hand, you're going for that very, very marginal, like 0.0 something % chance of improving your draw. That feels much more like a play a Sneak and Show deck would do, rather than a Delver deck. Sneak and Show is a pretty good solid matchup for us. They board in Blood Moons, which just help us out. The correct way to play Sneak and Show against Turbo Depths is to just ram the combo and ignore Blood Moon. I should really stop telling people because people will start doing that soon. Alright, so we did pick up on our opponent's play pattern there. They're just going to show and tell us straight away. Well, we have a play. I'm going to crop rotate away this forest. Okay, this gets us the Urborg. Show and tell resolves. If they're just putting in a monster, then we can force them to chump block with it. It's a Traxxas, which is a pretty good monster, but they will have to chump block with it. And if we draw Sejiri Steppe, we just win the game. What are they going to get off of this pile? A Brainstorm, a Lotus Petal, and a Traxxas. I don't know if they go for stock up or show and tell. Could just be show and tell. They can just have show and tell a Traxxas ready to go next turn. So they got Brainstorm, show and tell, a Traxxas, Lotus Petal, Ancient Tomb. Playing out the Lotus Petal. Sejiri Steppe, off the top, please. I'm asking politely, deck. Be kind. So we have a large friend. They will gain 7 life, which is super relevant. It does change the amount of times we have to hit our opponent. They need to discard 2 cards. Let's force the block here. I don't know how many ways they're going to have of dealing with the Marit Lage in their deck. Very few, I would imagine. They just want to sneak attack us and put an Emrakul in, which will certainly do it. They have the mana to sneak attack and sneak attack in something this turn as well. Here's the Ancient Tomb. They can sneak attack in the Attractor, try and find Petal plus Emrakul. Here comes the sneak attack. Is it the Attractor or the Emrakul? It's the Emrakul. Alright, we can scoop that up. We're going to lose all our opponents. Okay. So that's what our opponents should be doing in this matchup. But they're going to board in a bunch of Blood Moons, which we have to respect, and we board in some Abrupt Decays. Don't really need Bojuka Bog, Ghost Quarter. Pithing Needles are fine, but we can trim on them. That gets us our Abrupt Decays. The Disruptor Flute being able to name show and tell is really handy. So it is better than the Pithing Needle here. I like the Sejiri Steppe because it allows us to push through blockers, so this is what we're going with. Hand Disruption, route to the combo. Okay, we can keep this one. We also have a basic, which is really handy. We can just play off of basics, and then we don't have to worry about Blood Moon then. Let's take a peek. Force of Will, Sneak Attack, Brainstorm, Stock Up. This hand is pretty slow. I'm going to take this Force of Will. Volcanic Island. This gives them emergency Brainstorm if they want it. Oh, they drew a Ponder. That's very good. They did not shuffle off the Ponder, which is a little bit concerning for us. A Verdant Catacombs isn't really the one here. I could play out a Hexmage, or I could try and crop rotate while I don't think our opponent has a counterspell. So we're going to go for the crop rotation here. Counterspell on this would be irritating. I won't lie. Okay, they didn't have the counterspell. So we've got this in. If our opponent show and tells, we put in a Hexmage. They might put in a sneak attack and then Emrakul it though. Stock up. Okay, we know 4 of the cards in their hand. Elvish Spirit Guide. This is better than Vampire Hexmage in case they have Archon. It's also uncounterable, and also they don't know that they need to go this turn, so they might think they've got another turn. So it's just all round better to go this line. Hopefully this is the turn they just tap out for like a Mages of the Moon. Scalding Tarn. They can play the sneak attack. But do they have a Lotus Petal to follow up? They do. How bad is this going to be? It's an Atraxa. We can deal with that. If it's an Emrakul, then we're going to have a bad time. How bad is it going to be? It is an Emrakul. That is a problem for us, I would say. I think we are going to finish with only 1 match win this entire league, which is pretty awful. Okay, I'll play out the Verdant Catacombs. If our opponent finds another monster, we die. Doesn't matter what the monster is, because it can attack us. They have a Brainstorm. They've got a lot of potential to dig here. And they've got the Scalding Tarn to make the digs. Oh, they just have a monster ready to go. Alright. I'm curious to see if they boarded in the Mages of the Moon. So I will see this flip. I don't know. Maybe they didn't board in the Magus. Interesting. We are very dead here anyway. Yikes. That was another 0-2 there. A very poor start to our lovely December, but we were pretty close to beating one of the Ouphe Spells matchups, and I'm trying to remember what the other 1-2 matchup was. So these were like very close to going the other way. The Eldrazi matchup, we were like 1 turn behind both times. So even though it was an 0-2, it was a bit closer than it looked. That one, we were also 1 turn behind, which is unfortunate. So this is the list I have on my Patreon with my sideboarding guide that I posted. I posted this before the Eternal Weekend EU. This is what I would play in a paper tournament right now. That's why I played this list, because people should see this that's on the sideboarding matrix if they're playing paper events. However, because we're playing online, I would make some alterations to the list. Because we're playing online, I think I would like more Leylines. So what I would do is probably cut this Disruptor Flute for a Not of This World and add in the Leyline here. The Disruptor Flute is quite slow. I think that's probably the change I would make. Get the 4th Leyline the Void in there. You could also trim 1 Sylvan Safekeeper for a 3rd Collector Ouphe. So this is our package to beat Control, is all the Not of This Worlds and the Sylvan Safekeepers. But is that really what we need to be? Probably not online. So yeah, I think we probably go -1 Safekeeper, -1 Not of This World in the sideboard, +1 Leyline, +1 Collector Ouphe, -1 Disruptor Flute in the main, +1 Not of This World. That would be my recommendation for playing this online, because you need to play a faster tempo online, because that's just how online is compared to paper. I do also find this deck performs better on paper than it does online, generally speaking. Like a lot of the matchups we don't like to see are things like Doomsday that go in underneath us. And Storm can be awkward because they can go in before we get set up. But we do have really good tools in the Leyline, the Ouphe, and then Hand Disruption. So Storm isn't so bad. But stuff like Doomsday I find is quite challenging. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this one and you're ready for lots of Depthsember action. We're going to be playing all sorts of different decks. Whether you want to see mono red or mono blue Dark Depths, they're going to be on the channel. So stay tuned and keep an eye out for them. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like, subscribe, join the Patreon and YouTube membership plans if you like. And goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget Turbo Depths as well as 3 tiers of support. A low cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed Turbo Depths guide that is updated every month as well as regular articles, and lastly the higher tier gives you all of the above as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.